Grand Funk doesn't disco.
You know, that was always our thing. Let's not kick a dead horse.
We've been out here for a long time. Let's give it a rest. Donnie said, I think we should quit. Okay. It was that simple.
After 7 years together, Grand Funk Railroad's ride to rock and roll glory was over.
We all wish that they had just hung in there and destroyed disco, you know, and not give in to the sort of cotton candy version of rhythm and blues, funk, etc. And it didn't happen. You know, they just sort of went away, and it was sad when that happened.
When Grand Funk broke up, Mark, Don, and Mel pursued separate musical and personal interests. But 14 years after calling it quits, the trio found themselves fighting yet another battle together. This time, the enemy was the Internal Revenue Service. Trouble began with a tax shelter the band set up in 1976.
Grand Funk Railroad put $100,000 in a coal venture that was disallowed. But the IRS never told us that they were going to disallow it and assess a tax until 14 years later, 1990. And I said, wait a minute. Time out. Isn't there a statute of limitations here?
With interest and penalties, the back taxes the IRS now sought to collect had mushroomed into a shocking total.
My portion, you know, was $33,333.33, you know, 1/3. In 1990, when they assessed the tax and the penalties and interest, my portion was over $250,000.
The IRS is going to come in and take everything. They can come in and they can take your house. They can put this tax bill over onto your family. They can put it onto your wife.
It was an ongoing nightmare for all of them.
The power that they have it can be devastating.
When the IRS says, we're selling your house and your property and everything in it, and you have to go into a Chapter 11 to stop the sale of everything that you've worked for all your life, you're this far from divorce, from suicide. A lot of things cross your mind.
Mark had remarried in 1978, and the stress of the tax fight strained the bonds of his new marriage.
The IRS has the ability to put quite the squeeze on your life. It's been difficult at times for us to maintain our focus as a family.
It almost busted our marriage wide open. But through our faith and our belief that somehow God is going to deliver us from the hands of our enemy, that's what's kept us together.
Thank God for grace, because that is what has sustained us.
Don and Mel eventually settled with the IRS, but Mark Farner continues to fight.
Well, after the Terry Knight lawsuits, after the depositions, and after all the red tape, then the IRS comes after me, and it's like, when will people stop attacking me?
By 1995, 26 years and 40 million records after they first rocked the world, Mark Farner, Don Brewer, and Mel Shocker had moved on with their lives. They had battled their former manager, disco music, and the tax man, and had come through the turmoil intact.
I don't know what these three guys did to deserve some of the stuff that came their way, but they survived it beautifully. They came through on the other side, and they're all healthy, and they lead very happy lives. Don is a whole different person when he's on stage. I felt that he should be playing drums. I felt it was a waste of talent that he wasn't.
I knew that there was a hole in Mel's life. He was still earning good money doing what he was doing, which was investing, etc. But there was a hole in his life. His brothers were missing.
I believe that God has sustained them for this purpose, because they really have the ability to do something that very few men have the ability to do, and they do it well.
But they hadn't done it for a very long time. So in 1996, Mark, Don, and Mel held a secret reunion at a secluded hunting lodge to see if Grand Funk Railroad could get back on track.
Brewer came in a rent-a-car and pulls up, and I went up and I hugged him, and it was like breaking the ice. And he sat down, he says, well, I'm kind of rusty. He says, I feel like the chops are definitely back there somewhere, and it'll probably take us 6 or 8 months before we can really get ready to play music.
Although the guys didn't know it, they had an audience.
I walked right into them playing Closer to Home. For the first time in many years, I heard them live again. And I stood there and held my breath. I couldn't believe it. It was mesmerizing. And they stopped in the middle of the song, and I heard them laughing. And I had not heard them laughing together in so many years. And it was like coming home.
After the second day, it was like Donnie says, I think we're there. I think this is it.
He said, we can do a show right now, tonight. I'm blown away. I am amazed.
We're back. We're here. Come with us.
Are you ready? You can trust me all the way.
The American band reemerged in 1996, and the response was overwhelming.
And the world will know it's right.
I was totally blown away by the cult following that this band has. They performed to sold-out crowds and sold-out venues all over the country, and that just doesn't happen with reunion bands.
People have an appreciation for what's good. If it's good at one point, it will always be good.
Secure in the knowledge there was still an audience for Grand Funk, they launched an ambitious 85-city tour in 1998. It was no oldies act. Grand Funk was still a formidable power trio.
We've been lost now, days uncounted.
This band is better now than they've ever been.
To see them live it's almost like a religious experience.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
The people love this band. It's not concocted by some record company. It's not choreographed by image consultants. This is a people's band, a band that just wants to rock and roll, hard-driving, industrial rock and roll that relates to the average hard-working American.
We're an American band. We're an American band.
They still enjoy doing it. I think that they're almost better than they were then.
We're a little older, but we're kids, you know, and we're having a great time.
For young Chiquitas in Omaha, waiting for the band to return from the show.
I really never thought that it would be there again, and to have it again is just, I'm getting chills right now talking about it.
Once you get on stage, that's your baby, and you love your baby. And it's all home. It's home free. From that point on, it's a breeze.
This band, Grand Funk, represents the fact that rock and roll truly is the people's music, and that it is open to anyone, and I mean anyone, who can come out of their garage and end up in Shea Stadium. There's a road in Flint, and it goes underneath an overpass, and the overpass is the Grand Trunk Railroad overpass. And someone 25, 30 years ago changed it to Grand Funk Railroad and put Mark, Don, and Mel. Nobody has touched that graffiti in 25 years. It's still there, and every time you drive under it, you remember that this is the one train that got out of Flint.